Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all again on this 1 week AICT IST approved preparation program on innovative teaching learning methods organized by Vidya Pratishthan's Kamal Nayan Bajaj Institute of Engineering and Technology, Baramati. So, this is the session 2 of this program, and the topic for this session is effective use of ICT in teaching learning process. I would like to welcome our eminent speaker for this session, Dr. Kapil Kadam from IIT Bombay. Talking about Dr. Kadam, Dr. Kapil is a researcher in the area of educational technology, especially the development of students' special skills.
Professor, are you speaking? Because I'm not able
Okay,
to.
sorry, sir, for the disturbance.
Okay. I thought there is a loss of internet connection. No issues. You can go ahead.
Okay. Talking about the academic qualification of Dr. Kapil, he has completed his PhD in educational technology from IIT Bombay. He has also completed his BEA and MTech in computer science and engineering from Shivaji University. Talking about his work experience, he currently works as an educational consultant. He has offered MOOC courses on IIT Bombay X on the fundamentals of 3D visualization. He has also conducted several faculty development programs across India for various topics including active learning, ICT in education, flipped classroom, online teaching, blended learning, education, technology, research, and content delivery, etc. His research interests include educational technology, development of special skills, computer science education and research, teacher training, technology enabled learning of thinking skill, engineering, drawing, e learning, etc. In addition to this, he is a Blender enthusiast and has conducted several Blender training workshops for teachers and students in India. And these workshops focus on the basics of 3D modeling, 3D animation, and 3D visualization using Blender. So, this is the small introduction for our eminent speaker, Dr. Kapil Kadam. Now, I would like to call Dr. Kapil Kadam to start his presentation and guide us on the today's session topic use of ICT in teaching learning process. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Sheikh, for a warm welcome and warm introduction. So, not taking too much of your time, I would directly go on starting with my presentation. Hope it is going to be useful and helpful for all the participants and teachers fraternity. Okay, so I won't be using my video as my laptop camera is not working and I'm not able to fix it at the moment. So I apologize for that. But anyways, we'll be using slides. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Kapil Kadam, and like a brief introduction, I've done my PhD majors in education technology. So most likely, I'll be talking about some pedagogical aspects of how effectively we can use ICT. So the title is goes like in and around is use of ICT for effective teaching and learning. Uh, I'm sure for the last 1 year, most of you, including me, most of us have been using a lot of tools and technologies because we have entirely moved from face to face to online, right? So here is a quick question I have for you. So, which from this is not a valid learning objective? Okay, just quickly go through these objectives. First is identify the purpose of ICT in given educational context. Then understand your role as a teacher in effectively integrating ICT in class. Third one is implement instructional strategy to effectively integrate ICT in your class. Last one is identify your role as a teacher in effectively integrating ICT in class. Could you respond me with in a chat box? Which of this is not a valid learning objective? So let me see if you can, you are there and you are able to post something on chat. Okay, Professor Jayabant is saying this number one is not valid learning objectives. Okay. So this is not a quiz or something. You will understand why I'm emphasizing on this particular point. Okay, 4, 2, 4. Okay, it's interesting to see these responses. So let me see what I have to say. So most of you are saying is 4 is not a valid learning objective. Definitely, I'm not going to ask you why, because, okay, 2 is not a valid learning objective. Great. So those who are saying 4 is not valid, can you just try to give some reasoning for that? Okay, so let me talk about it. So number one is valid learning objective. Number two is not. Number three also needs some refinement. Number four is a valid learning objective. So these learning objectives are for today's session. So after this session, you will be able to do all these things. So like I said here, great. Two is not because going by the definition of learning objectives, it should be clearly mentioned and it should be, we should be able to do some measurement after that. So I'm not going to talk much about what is learning objective and why. Okay, four is identifying the role. Correct. Reason is, the reason I'm emphasizing on this particular point is because we will be, I'll get back to this point whenever I'll be using some tools and technologies. Okay. So for now, at the end of this session, you will be able to identify the purpose of ICT. You will be able to implement appropriate instructional strategy. Remember this, not just instructional strategy, but a very appropriate instructional strategy. Then definitely you'll be able to identify your role as a teacher. Okay. Now, as what I understood is most of us are very much familiar with these action verbs based on Bloom's taxonomy. So you could just, this is for your reference. There is no much emphasis will be given in this session because it takes entirely different part. I'm just giving as a reference. These are the action verbs for each level. You don't need to remember or read. Okay, if it is required, it will be there for your reference. So just to give you brief background about Bloom's taxonomy. So Bloom's taxonomy was created for what? To promote higher forms of thinking in education. So especially analyzing and evaluating concepts, processes, procedures, principles, rather than just remembering facts. That is rote learning, correct? It is most often used while we design some educational content or training and learning processes. In the next slide, I have a scenario for you. You can take 1 or 2 minutes. You won't require 5 minutes. Okay. Go to this scenario and then I'll have a quick reflection question for you. So you can start now. And once you're done, you can simply respond in the chat box by saying done, or you can raise your hand, whatever you prefer. So this is about a teacher, Vaishali, who's teaching mathematics. So you can read the rest of the story. Done? Okay, so my question to all of you who are done with reading, okay, good. So I received one response. That means okay. So my question for all of you is, are there any ICT tools used in the given scenario? If yes, just respond with the tools that you observed and their purposes if possible. You can respond in the chat box. I can re display this scenario for your reference. Great. Okay, so are there any ICT tools? If yes, what are those and what are their purposes? You could see a lot of responses are coming. Yes, video tools are there, blog, YouTube, Google Form, yes, Google Form, reaction to video, online quizzes, Google Meet, YouTube Meet, Google Class, quizzes, Meet, video, online quiz, forms, classroom, YouTube, video learning, Google Form, blog, Messenger, Google Form, okay, NPTEL series, okay, Google Form conducting exam, YouTube, okay, tools, app, videos, Google Form, blog, excellent. So most of you have, are able to identify the tools in this particular scenario, right? Real time tool, yeah, great. So in addition to what you have mentioned, I'm just trying to highlight these ICT tools in a given scenario. So you could see that YouTube was used to show a video, then Google Form was used to take a quiz online, then you have WhatsApp Messenger for sharing pictures, then you have blog for posting teachers experiences, teaching experiences and reflections. Then you have a classroom management app for managing certain things like attendance, polls, quizzes, etc. Then again you have quiz tool for tracking students learning. So yeah, definitely all of you are correct, and these are the tools that were shown in this particular scenario. So what I wanted to emphasize is, so most of the time we use a lot of tools. Sometimes we are not aware which one we should call it as ICT, right? So because we have certain perception about the ICT, but broadly, what I wanted to say is the technologies used in these processes, all these processes, are information and communication technologies, that is ICT. Okay, so just to have it more clear idea. So there are certain technologies and tools. These are the tools and technologies and resources, and how they deal with this information is what we are interested in. So to create quiz, then video can be used to disseminate information, then app is to store information, then blog is to manage information. So this information I'm talking about is educational information, correct? So continuing with this, let me talk about certain tools and purposes. So ICT has the potential to be used in a lot of practices of education. So especially teaching and learning, when we talk about where we can integrate ICT for, okay, just a moment. Can I? Yeah, please mute someone. There is a noise. Sankal, sir, Professor Sankal, please mute yourself. Yeah, thanks. So, for teaching and learning, like I said, you can use ICT for content creation, content delivery. Then you can have collaboration. Then majorly we use it for learner engagement. And these days you have seen that a lot of assessments has been done using ICT. Then of course for administration and finally research. So these are the different purposes for ICT tools to be used in. So these are some examples of ICT tools, and you could see that Bloom's taxonomy is given. This is just for visual purpose. Okay, you can check it later on. So I would like to talk about one classic example about use of ICT in class. Okay, so visualization such as animation and simulations has been shown to provide many learning benefits, especially in the STEM discipline, that is science, technology, engineering, math disciplines, higher education or school education, right? So if you simply look at the screenshot, the first one is some kind of a simulation, a screenshot of a simulation where you could see different graphical uh, representations. And the second one, you can see a mathematical expression which has different multiple representations where you could see waveform, equation, some animated animation part of it. So most of the time we use these kind of animation, right? Now, since it is very obvious that all of us are using visualization in some way, okay? So I want you to ask, how do you use visualization in your class, whichever class it is, okay? I want you to think for a few seconds or a minute, and I want you to respond on a chat box for questions such as, what are the ways you use visualization in your class? What are the possible purposes of it? When should one use visualization in your class? Can you explain some element of or components of visualization? Please respond in the chat box. You can take a minute for that. I'll keep the slide on. Yeah, I could see simulation, someone saying simulation. 3D curves. It could be any form of visualization, right? Photographs, videos from case studies. Okay, you're saying if the subject is very theoretical, I will go for visualization. Great. To explain working principle of electric machines, animations, images, presentations, design, graphs to understand geometry, working principle. So you could see a lot of examples are coming out. Each teacher will have different purposes. Each subject require different kind of visualization. It paying interesting videos and animated graphical videos, case studies, simulating circuits, Great. Pictures, images, graphs. It should be used when it's difficult to show actual examples. Great. Graphs and diagrams and comparing with real-time examples. Okay. Yeah, it's a very interesting example you're saying, GeoGebra. Great. So I also got to know a lot of other examples because of you. Like I was not expecting that somebody will come up with GeoGebra or graphs or these diagrams, but excellent. Now, what I wanted, okay, for graph plotting. Okay, great. You can stop responding now. Thank you very much for your responses. Now, whatever you're saying, I entirely agree with all your responses. So how, like, most typically, how all teachers, or we, I would say, use visualization in class, like most of you mentioned. So how do we use visualization in class as a teacher? So most commonly, what teachers do is teacher will play or show or demonstrate visualization. It could be PPT, projector, or anything that you have just mentioned now. Okay. And in addition to that, teacher will give some narrative explanation. Correct? What students will be doing here? Okay. The students, most commonly, they will watch or observe, and they may ask some clarification questions if required. Professor Sheikh, can you make me co-host, so that if something happens, I can mute the other participants? Yeah.
Yes, sir, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Anyway, so this is what is expected by students. It's not. So I want you to vote for the next question of mine. So do you think that demonstration and explanation of visualization is effective? Simply say yes or no. I don't need any other answer from your side. So do you think that demonstration and explanation of visualization is effective? So it's easier, right? When you ask a question of yes and no, you tend to receive a lot of responses. Great. So I also agree with this particular part, because it's not just that you or me who says this, but there is a research and evidence from research which also has similar results. There are a lot of evidence which says that showing demonstration alone is not effective. Okay. Then you have, like, potential benefits of visualization will get lost if students simply watch the visualization. So, in addition to this, it is really important the way instructor teaches with visualization has a very profound, or has a profound effect on learning effectiveness. So yes, definitely demonstration and explanation of visualization is effective. Then what is the problem with this? Though we know visualization or this ICT is useful, the problem is ICT is everywhere. So you could have experienced in last 1 year, there's a huge amount of ICT tools available, and everyone encourages of using some or the other tool. Most of the time, LMS, MOOCs, some visualizations, simulations, animations, videos, etc. And like I said, correct, with the teacher's involvement is also very important. That's a very important point that you mentioned. Yes. So the potential of these technologies is lost without appropriate pedagogical strategies. That is in alignment with what you have just said now, right? And one of the major challenges for teacher is to how difficult in designing and implementing some learner-centric practices with ICT. Okay, what is the solution of this problem? Okay, the solutions could be intuitive or it could be research based. Most commonly, the solutions require teacher to have knowledge of ICT. Okay, the teachers need to have knowledge of certain things. One of them is teacher needs to know what are the existing tools available in the market, right? And which of them are useful. Okay, it's not just knowing the list, but which of them are useful, and how to select a tool for given learning objective. So this is why I started with the learning objective, because when we have a very clearly defined learning objective, then we tend to move further, whether it's instructional activity, strategy, or assessment. Correct. So I'll come back to this point frequently. Okay. And the next part is how to effectively integrate instructional strategies with tools. So these are the important solutions that Mentimeter. So definitely, I'm not gonna go in much detail about the tool, but I'll be using a couple of examples to demonstrate it, as well as you can go through the examples also. So before me talking something about Mentimeter, I have a question for you. Have you used Mentimeter before to present before? Okay, so you can go to menti.com, enter the code 739430033. I'll copy paste this code in chat box so that you have a easy access. Okay, so I have shared it in the chat box. You can take a minute. You will understand why this simple activity is required. Okay, so once you enter this code in a Mentimeter, so you have to go to menti.com, menti.com, and then you have to enter this code, and then you will see this particular window where you have to select any of the option. Okay. So menti.com, enter. Okay. Then I enter the code, and I submit. I can see these options. Have you used Mentimeter before to present something? Okay, yes, say, no, don't say. Okay, I'll just choose I don't know at the moment. So once you submit, here I can display your live responses. So I could see a lot of people have used it. So it is really important for a facilitator to know the background knowledge of the learner at that particular moment. Because suppose if all of you are already familiar with the Mentimeter, then there is no point me talking about the basics of Mentimeter. I should go to the advanced level of Mentimeter if things are not prepared, at least for such a short session. If it is a workshop, then definitely we will be having a lot of prerequisites and all those things. So yeah, I'll wait for a few more seconds so that people can respond. Okay, so don't worry, I'm not going to ask those said yes, what do you know, or I'm not going to ask those who don't know. Rather, I'll be briefing all of you with some interesting examples of Mentimeter. Okay, so to move further, okay, a lot of people have responded here in the chat box. Could you please, can you please respond in the menti.com? Okay. Yeah, okay, thank you. So it would be useful if you make me host so that I can switch between mute and unmute. Thank you. Okay, so see, a lot of people have responded with no. So that is really useful for me because I have a scope of telling you what Mentimeter is. Those who said yes, still I have a scope to what additional information I can give them or what is my way of using Mentimeter like tools. So there are people who said simply don't know. So let us see what to do with. Uh, so simply, what is Mentimeter? Mentimeter is easy to use interactive presentation tool. Okay, then it is a tool for to increase student learning and engagement in the classroom. Then this is a Mentimeter is a tool for testing knowledge, sharing ideas, and feedback. It can be inclusive and you can have a lot of fun if you use it very appropriately. Finally, it's free to use, and most important part that I use such tools is not to just have fun or something, but to trigger thinking among the students. Okay, to trigger thinking. I'll get back to this point also when I'll using another example. When I'll be using example. So how to use Mentimeter? You simply go and ask a question, take the audience vote, and present the results in a real time, like what I have done here. Okay, so you must have been using voting or polling in your platforms like Zoom has its own voting, some LMSs have their own voting and everything, right? But it's up to you how you want to use it. Okay, so if you're a teacher or a presenter, you need to log in through mentimeter.com where you can create your presentations. Okay, so here I'll just display the interface of Mentimeter. You could see you can add slides like PowerPoint or other tools like Crazy. Okay, so here are the different types of question you can generate. So I have created this as a multiple choice question. You can have word cloud, open-ended question, ranking. Okay, you need to explore all these types on your own. Then here you can actually enter the content. You can write a question over here. Here I have used different multiple options. You can add more options to this. Then these are the images that I have used just to make it more interesting. Okay. And another part is you can select your result layout. So most commonly we use bar charts. So that's why I use bar charts so that is easily understandable. You can use donut, you can use pie chart, you can use dots. It's entirely up to you. Okay, you can display the correct answer, you can show the results in percentage, right? So you can always switch between this percentage when you're actually when you present the results. If I click over here, it will show me number, it will show me percentage, right? So this is a very fundamental use of Mentimeter. You can also export this data. There are a lot of examples and themes available, so this part I keep as a exploration for all of you. Now, since we have just looked at a very basic of Mentimeter, so for students and audience, you simply have to go to menti.com and enter the code and participate. You can always log in with Google or any account of yours. Now I want to show an example where how I can use Mentimeter. Okay, that's already we have seen one example, but let us see another example. So here for using Mentimeter, I'll be talking about POE. So my learning objective, I'll get back what is POE. So my learning objective is students should be able to predict the outcome of a phenomena. Okay. So here is a condition for you. So you could see that there is a bowling ball and there is a feather. Both are the same image, just only different viewpoints. Okay. So condition is dropping this bowling ball and a feather from a significant height, okay, in a chamber. The condition is first in a normal condition in a chamber. My question is which will fall fastest? Okay, so here are four options. Bowling ball will fall fastest, feather will fall fastest, both will fall fastest, and nothing will happen. Can you please post your responses in a chat box? Okay. Bowling ball will fall fastest. Bowling ball will fastest. Both, somebody saying. Okay, okay. Both will fall. Bowling ball. So most of you are responding that A and C, A and C, A and C. So keep thinking about your logic or your reason about this particular answer. Okay. You don't need to respond it in the chat box. Just keep it in your mind. So why both and why only bowling ball? If somebody has to think about feather, you can also think about that. Correct? Okay, so continuing with this particular part, I have another condition for you. So here we had a normal condition in the chamber. Okay, now condition 2 is dropping the ball and feather together in a chamber from a significant height after virtually all the air has been sucked out of the chamber. So this is very important condition. Which will fall fastest? Bowling ball, feather, or both? So this time don't respond in the chat box, rather go to menti.com and enter this code. Okay. Go to menti.com and enter this code. So whoever is responding over here, please go to menti.com and enter your code. So it is 76166977. So I want everyone to respond over here. Let me see. And those who have responded after that, then you can tell me your reasons and you can post it on the chat box. Why do you think that bowling ball will fall fastest in condition 2? Why do you think that both will fall at the same speed? Why do you say that nothing will happen? So, Professor Khurana, could you please respond A in the Mentimeter and then no air resistance? Okay. For A, you're saying. So let us look at these responses. Now you can come up with your all reasoning. Definitely, I'm not taking your science class here, but I just want to be. I wanted to use a very generic physics example so that we can have some more interactive part on this. Maximum people are saying that both will fall at the same speed. Those who are saying others, could you please give justification for your answer? No air resistance, same acceleration due to gravity acting in vacuum. What about others? Do you have anything to say on that? Okay, no air resistance, acceleration due to gravity is same. Okay, so no air resistance. Okay, equal gravitational pull. Okay, the whole idea here is not to teach you something about this particular phenomena, but I'm using this as a demonstration example so that you can understand how we can utilize these kind of things. Great. So considering all responses and this bar chart, so what interesting part we are able to see is, though maximum people are saying option C, I don't know whether they are correct or not. I have not shown your answer. But interesting part to look at is there are others who also have different options. Some people are saying feather. Okay, one person is saying feather will fall fastest. If it is one, two people are saying nothing will happen. 20% are saying that bowling ball will fall fastest. 68% are saying that both will fall at the same speed. So let us check the correct answer. I will not be telling you the answer directly. Rather, I would be interested in playing a video and I want you to watch it for some time. Okay, this is some advertisement. Let it get over.
Space power facility near Cleveland, Ohio, and it is the world's biggest vacuum chamber. It's used to test spacecraft in the conditions of outer space, and it does that by pumping out 30 tons of air. Galileo's experiment was simple. He took a heavy object and a light one and dropped them at the same time to see which fell fastest. Now, in this case, the feathers fell to the ground at a slower rate than the bowling ball because of air resistance. So, in order to see the true nature of gravity, we have to remove the air. We dropped 2 millitorr in the last 30 minutes, but once it's complete, there's a near perfect vacuum inside. 16.4 10% older. Station 1, go for drive. CD 30-1. That's just...
It's 11:30.
Isaac Newton would say that the ball and the feather fall because there's a force pulling them down, gravity. But Einstein there is no force acting on them at all. He reasoned that if you couldn't see the background, there'd be no way of knowing the ball and the feathers were being accelerated.
They're able to see, oh, something is happening. Oh, what is this? What are they talking about? Right? So this particular part is essential. Okay. So once they predict something, then teacher can play the rest of the visualization. In observe phase, you can show the rest of the visualization which has results. So that's what we also did. Okay. And student can check their prediction by watching these results. Here, all of these people got to know why they're wrong. These people got to know more clarity about their answers. Okay. That was the observe phase. In explain phase, so the video was self-explanatory in this case, but in a normal class, as a teacher, I would have gone beyond just showing the video. I would have discussed the more part of it. Okay, so I could have facilitated class discussion on the reason behind the observation. Student can check their understanding, and you can replay the video as much as point of time you want to have it. So this is the whole idea of having predict, observe, explain strategy. So you have to set the context, then predict, observe, and explain phase. So you can simply think of a lot of topics of your subjects. See, this particular strategy cannot fit for all the topics. This is only suitable for something like this. Okay, but you can always figure out. Now, if you just revert back and think about from the beginning, what we did is first I when I set the context, then I used Google Slides, I'm using Zoom, and I'm using some content. Then even for the first two phases, in the third phase, in the observe phase, I showed you a video using YouTube. Okay, then we use Mentimeter to have this voting. So a lot of ICT tools we use for this particular part. So now, like I said, it's up to the teacher or the instructor on how he plans his instructions, how he executes even in a simple or a complex idea or a concept, at what point of time he integrates this tool. Doesn't matter here, doesn't matter how many are actually participating, but if something is moving, people get, you can grab their attention. Okay, doesn't matter if they're interested in participating the vote or not, but now they know the answer by watching the video. Now they have some information, right? So multiple ways you can put it together using appropriate strategy is more important, and that's what one of the major objective of this session. Okay. Okay, so this was the predict, observe, explain strategy. What I would like to do is I would like to have one more example, rather a similar example, which will be very quick, won't take much time of it. To reinforce this particular concept, I would like to have a similar example. So my learning objective is students should be able to predict the outcome of a phenomena, a similar learning objective. Here, if you could see, this is helium filled balloon is attached to a string which is not clearly visible and attached to a thread, and it's placed inside this plastic box. Okay, the box is on wheels. I want you to predict what happens to the balloon if this man pushed this cart forward, and you can come up with your explanation how you made the prediction, and you don't need to write at the moment, but you can come up with your explanation. So there are four options. Balloon won't move, balloon will move forward, balloon will move backward, and I don't know. So I want you to participate in this activity very quickly by going to Mentimeter, menti.com, and respond over there. It's a very small part. We won't spend much time on it, but I just want you to respond and let us check. Go ahead. Now you know how to participate in the Mentimeter voting. Yeah, it's very interesting to see this in the initial part, how things are changing, the variations. So it's not just about the students, huh? It's for a teacher also. It has to be very interesting and interactive. So I like this part also, because it gives you some motivation to move further. Okay, 43% are saying balloon will move backward. So those who have responded, you can keep typing your answers or reasons. So maximum people are saying balloon will move backward. So last time those I mean, the option which got highest rating was correct, but it is going to be the same this time or not? We don't know. I don't know the answer. I'll wait for few more seconds to others respond. Due to acceleration on the cart, it moves forward. Okay, there is some explanation coming up. Okay, so yeah, I'll get back to the slides now. So just look at this results. 30% are saying balloon won't move. Doesn't matter if you're telling your answers or not, you are thinking about something. You have your own logic for this answer. Okay. Those who are saying balloon will move forward, they also have some reasoning for that. Correct? Due to elastic behavior. Okay. Those who are like saying balloon will move backward will also definitely have some answer for some reason for their answer. A very less percent is saying I don't know, which is also very valid in this condition, because you see, of course we are all teachers here, but at this particular moment, if we are wearing a hat of a learner, so you can simply see every learner has different way of thinking or a different way to look at a common thing, right? So let us check what is the correct answer. And no surprise, but I'm again going to use the video to display the answer, not for the explanation part. It's a very small video. It's not going to take much time. I would say hardly like few seconds. Yeah, it's a 9-second video. So what I'll do is I'll just reduce the playback speed to 0.5 so that we can clearly see, or 0.25. Okay, so I want everyone to observe. So once again, I'll display the results, see your answers, think about your reasoning, and I will play the video. No sound is there. What we just saw, the balloon moved forward, right? The moment the man pushed the cart, balloon moved forward. One more time, let us see. Correct? So again, there are different ways you can execute this particular part, but I chose to do this way. So those 90% are correct, rest are wrong. Now I'm not gonna discuss the explanation part of it, but what you can check your understanding later on by searching on helium balloon experiment, and then you'll understand about it. So I don't want to discuss much about it. So again, this is also based on a POE strategy. Here I set the context with helium balloon. Then I asked you to predict what will happen to the balloon. Then I asked you to observe this video. So here you got to know your answers. Now we didn't do the explain phase over here. This can be done by teacher. You can explain everything, or like I said, I have asked you to learn with a self explanation or self exploration on Google. Okay, so these are the two examples to emphasize on the fact that how to utilize POE strategy. Okay, you can come up with a lot of examples, similar or different. You can try hand and base. So the important part I want to highlight here is, okay, there are a lot of active learning strategies available. POE is one of them. Okay, there are think pair share, there are peer instruction, there are group discussion, there are simple pollings and everything. But what I'm trying to say is, just don't stop one-sided, like just give a question and get the answer. Don't stop there. Do something which will uh, trigger thinking in students. So once they start thinking, once they start asking questions, then the learning starts happening. Okay, because it's an ongoing process. There is no termination point. The termination points we try to ensure through assessment, but learning doesn't stop there. So the important part is we need to increase the thinking part of it. Okay. So what you have to remember is there are three aspects of effective pedagogy. So we try to use POE effectively. First is learning objective. Why? Because what do you want students to be able to do is defined over here, and it should be stated in a measurable terms. So predict something, something, something. Then assessment comes in a picture where you have to think about how you can determine that students have attained the learning objectives, and it should be aligned with the learning objectives. And the next part is instructional activities that has to come in a picture. So always remember, this is for a reference, that triangle of effective learning. So one is learning objective, instructional activities, and assessment. So these three forms a triangle of effective learning. Okay, these are the three aspects of teaching learning process. So what we did in this particular examples was we used predict for learning objective and POE as an instruction strategy, and we tried to align it. Okay, so this was about POE strategy. There are few more examples just to mention about Mentimeter. I already showed you the Mentimeter interface. There are other examples where you can simply ask a question, and then based on the responses, you can have a leaderboard. Leaderboard is where you can see who responded the fastest and then who responded the fastest and correct. You can have students' name also. You can export the data, and there are a lot of features that needs to be explored by yourself. Okay. So this is just for your reference. You can again explore Mentimeter later on, right? Okay, so after Mentimeter, I want to let me see. We have few more minutes, so I would like to talk about Padlet. I would like to show a couple of examples where I have used Padlet. So this time I'm not going to take poll or something. I'm simply asking you, have you used Padlet before? If yes, for what purpose? Can you respond on a chat box? Simply say yes or no. That's fine. Okay. So this is just for my understanding whether you have used it or not. Okay. Oh, most of you are saying no. Okay. Okay. This is really, gives me energy when I have a question of yes and no, because you simply get to see the answers very quickly. Okay, so most of you have not used Padlet. Okay, then it's a good way to just explore. Okay, so let me start in a similar way like I started Mentimeter. What is Padlet? Padlet is an online virtual bulletin board. Okay, then so here students and teachers can collaborate, reflect, they can share links and pictures, and the collaboration can be for collecting ideas, project ideas, or some brainstorming, and many more things you can do. You can look at a lot of examples over there. Okay. So it's free to use. You can have 3 Padlets in the free part, and you can keep on reusing it. You can simply log in with your Google ID, or you can create account. Same process. So this thing is very standard process for any tool that you'll be using. Okay. How did I use the Padlet recently? Let me see if you find it also interesting. What I did, I asked a question. I asked the audience to think for a few minutes, and then I asked them to post it on Padlet. Okay. Now, I'll give you a very specific example. In one of my animation workshop, so where I teach animation. So before me going and telling them animation is this, instead of that, I asked them, what is animation? What do you understand by animation? Or what is animation according to you? Okay. So this is what I asked. Okay. Then I gave them a minute to think, and then I asked them to post on a Padlet. Okay, so when they respond on Padlet, you can simply see that most of the students have different opinions over here. So why don't I do? I'll just open the Padlet itself. Okay, so this is the Padlet. The posts are okay. Here you can have your question. There are a lot of settings. So here you can simply see that somebody is saying animation is using transformation for movement. It's a picture to create moving object. It creating virtual objects for immersive experience, moving 2D, 3D object figures. It's artificially generated image, creating virtual object using computer generated images. So the whole idea I'm telling you this example because, see, all of us watch animation movies, VFX movies, some high technical sci-fi movies. Then most of us have grown up like watching cartoons and TV animations from Tom and Jerry to latest animations. So we perceive this animation in different ways. Okay, but if I have to teach students of animation, so I need to understand what is their understanding by animation. So now everybody can read everybody else's posts and they see, oh, all these are nothing but animation, all of them are correct, and then I can go on have a standard definition of animation. So this is how one example I've used the Padlet. So here you could see if they have to post anything, either they have to just click on the plus sign, or if they double tap they can write a post. I'll show you that part to you in a few more minutes, so don't worry about that. Okay, so this is about how I use first asking simple question. Now the important part is people can ask question, they can comment on each everybody's post. Even the teacher, if wants to comment to their post, teacher can also do that. Okay, so in continuation with the animation part, okay, let me check if there are some chat questions. Okay, there is something going background. Okay, fine. So in this animation workshop, there is a scenario too where 3D modeling is a very integral part of animation. So I train students for 3D modeling online, and then I ask them to create a 3D model. But now how I can check their submissions? So instead of making it more formal, I ask them to post it on the Padlet. Just take a screenshot and post it on the Padlet. I'll just show you how it works. So this worked as a formative assessment. I'll get back this point again. Okay. So this is what the 3D modeling part I showed. This is how I created the 3D model, and I wanted to check how many of them actually are able to do it or not. Okay. So I asked them to post on the Padlet. I'll just go to this particular link. Yeah. It's loading. Give me a moment. Yes. So see, this is what I did, and this is what students did after this exercise was given. So simply I can see all submissions at one go, and I can compare everybody's submissions. All of them can look at everybody else's submissions. They can ask their peers, hey, how did you do that? Can you tell me how can I do that? So that instruction part also becomes easier for me. So if I have to ask the students, how did you add the color at this moment? So then this person can ask the student and they can interact with each other. So they don't need to wait for me to do things. They can take help from the instructor for more clear clarifications. So simply you can see all these submissions are here at one platform, and I can watch it in one go. To look at each submission, you can simply click on that image, or you can have the view full post where you can see the whole post, right? You can see the original image also, correct? So this is how you can have a quick assessment of these submissions. And if you find something interesting or something not interesting, you can always ask students or comment to the students, right? Okay, so coming back, why this worked as a formative assessment? So my objective was not just them to make a modeling, but I wanted them to, at the end of that course, I wanted students to create different 3D models, apply material or colors to them, add some lighting, and do the rendering part of it, fix the camera at particular angle, whatever of their choice, and then come up with the final output. So this is what was done in the next assignment. So this was the first assignment. This was the final expectations. Let me see if it is there. It's opening. Okay. So I'm not at all doing any marking or grading to this because this is a learning part of it. So here it's more of a visual part. So I wanted them to submit. So in a similar way, you could see that people have submitted their 3D models and final outputs. So you could see they started with some vase or pot, this particular part, and they ended up doing cube, table, chairs, room, books, some objects, car, lot of creative 3D modeling stuff that they're able to do. So let me just click on something and okay, so if I click on this, now you could see the final output. So they started with something like this, they ended up here, right? So my final goal was this. So in between I wanted to assess. So here it acted as a formative assessment. Now here I can simply check for all parameters, or I can use some rubric and grade them. This is how I used Padlet for this particular example. Definitely there are different ways to do that. You can explore much about the Padlet later on. Okay. Okay. So till now, what we checked upon is ICT purpose, implementing instructional strategy in the class, teacher's role, POE strategy, Mentimeter basics, Padlet basic, and some examples. Okay, so now I will require your 1 minute to reflect upon something. So we have seen a lot of things in the class, as per me. Okay, you excellently, participated in interactive activities, which is very appreciable. Okay, this could be the last activity. Hopefully, yes, it could be a last activity from your side, where I want you to think. Just go back and revisit the entire lecture. Think about it. Take just 1 minute, okay, and write brief answers to the following questions. So you'll have to do this in a Padlet. Don't use chat box. What is the most valuable or helpful idea or concept that you learned in this session? Okay, if any. If not, it's absolutely fine, but just one idea. What is the muddiest or most confusing point about this session? About in this session, okay? You need to post your responses in this Padlet. So if you click on the Padlet, this is how it will look like. Here is the question. You can simply click on the plus sign, and I want everyone to post their individual responses. Try avoiding commenting on others posts, okay? Or if you just double click anywhere on here, you will be able to see that particular part. So I will share this in chat. Control C, chat, Control V. I've shared this link, and I want maximum participation from your side. Okay. Let me go to this Padlet. What you have to do is you simply either click on plus. If you want to write your name, you can write. If you don't want to write, that is also fine. Yeah, this is right. Here you can write your responses. Okay. You can create more posts. Correct. You can edit. Yeah, so I want you to take few minutes to participate in this and explore this Padlet rather than doing hands-on entirely differently. So you will learn after this part why this kind of activity is really important. Yeah, somebody is, putting some annotations. Okay, no problem. That's how we should be exploring things. You can see that Menti, very good idea, concept. Most interesting was use of Mentimeter. Most effective, very informative for learning the tools, POE, SAM. Okay, that was some sample. Excellent idea to connect to the students. Learn that knowing ICT tool is not only enough. Okay. Mentimeter, Padlet, effective use of Mentimeter. Nothing is confusing. Information about Mentimeter, Padlet is most valuable. There was no confusion. Everything was clear. Learn use of new ICT tool. Okay, POE. We were able to have an idea how to utilize tools. Okay, about Mentimeter activity. Okay, so this is telling me that if my participants found something useful or not. If yes, no, I get an idea, so that it helps me in redesign my instructions for upcoming sessions or something like that, or what part I should be focusing on this. So you can also try this out with students. Okay, explanation is good, but in the online class, if I feel that we can't concentrate on doing this extra work, more of our students also will easily get distracted. See, challenges will always be there. That's what I was telling you. So when I was, we shouldn't be bothered about what students will be doing. Why? Because we cannot force the learning. We can facilitate the learning. We can simply give the environment. We can simply utilize our knowledge, and that's how see here also you see only 27 of 80 participated in this particular activity, but the whole idea is, even if they're just passive learners, passive observers, still they're learning something. Okay, so don't bother about all these things. It's fine. Okay, so you can now you could see that all posts are organized in some way. I can try to I want to change a format. So there are different formats that you can use. So this was a grid one. I can use a streamline content where all these posts can be seen in the streamline format. Correct? So that if I want to read each and every post, or if there is a limited number of students, you can simply use this format. Okay. I'm just showing you what are the possibilities. Then I will try to use timeline format. So timeline format can look like something like this. Okay. Suppose you are working on some project or something like that, or weekly progress, you can utilize this format. This is a horizontal scroll. You can expand, you can add, anywhere you can, right? So this is what it is also interesting. Now let me see if there is another format. Okay. So I never use the back channel or something. That is more of, interactive thing, not useful for this particular activity. Okay, so I'll get back to the grid format where you can simply have this arranged in a grid of 4. Okay, easy to read, easy to follow. Fine. Okay, so now that you have responded to this Padlet, I am coming back to this very activity that you just now did, what it is. So though I wanted you to do it in a 1 minute, it took 2 minutes, it's okay. So what you just now did was a very commonly used classroom assessment technique called the minute paper. Okay, this is a classroom assessment technique. So what is minute paper? So minute paper is a classroom activity, and it has, so like at the end of each class period, we can ask students to write brief answers to these following questions that you just did now. What is the most valuable or helpful idea or concept that you learned today? Or what is the most muddiest or confusing point about today's lecture? Now, this is where even after 1 or 2 hours class, students can simply focus on something that was useful or not useful, and that helps them in remembering the whole idea. Okay, so there are different variations for minute paper. This is just the informative part. I'm just adding so that you can think of utilizing Padlet. I wanted to have one more demonstration of utilizing Padlet or similar tools for these activities. Okay, so again, you can ask them to write one sentence summary, or what is the application of Mentimeter or something like that. What is the confusing point? These are the same things. There's a lot of research which talks about how useful it is to use minute paper. I'm not going to read or discuss these things. These are the research based things, and just to support the claims that how effective it is to use minute paper in your every class. Okay, so you can read upon this. I'll share the slides later on. Okay, so there are other ways you can have these classroom techniques. You can have these questions, give 5 to 10 line summary of last reading, what were the three most important points from yesterday's discussion. Okay, this is really important. So if you have to summarize today's discussion to a friend who was absent, which is the most common scenario that happens, so whoever is not paying attention, there you can ask, what two ideas do you think are the most essential? So whenever you have to tell your friend about something like this particular task is really important. Yeah, so these are the some guidelines for if you want to implement the minute paper. That's not exactly the part of the ICT tool, but it's I wanted to show you an example for how you can use the Padlet. So this is an exploration activity for you. You can do it later on. You can think of designing activity where you can use Padlet. Simply go to padlet.com. I'll just try to, so if you go to home, okay, here you can make a Padlet, join existing Padlet. You can see examples. There are a lot of other options you can explore. These are the different Padlets that I have used for my recent sessions and the classes. Okay, I'm not going to talk much about Padlet now. This is entirely self-exploration part. Also, I will be sharing an assignment, home assignment for you guys, where you would need to design one predict, observe, explain strategy based activity for any of your topic, or it is could be from your current course. This can be similar to the examples that I have shown, or you can create your own examples. Okay, and once you do that, you can submit this in the form of, you can write it in a Word file, you can create a PDF, or you can have a PPT file. Whatever comes in your mind, however you want to design the POA strategy, you can submit it. Okay, I'll share this with the organizers, and they will broadcast it to you. So this I'll again refine the due date for that also. I'll also share the link where to submit. So most likely it will be on Padlet. Okay, just give me a moment. So just let me show you an example how you can submit these assignments. Once I share the link of the Padlet, here what you did, you wrote something. You can also write here in this format in a differently, or whenever I create a post, this is a post. If you click on these three dots, you will get a lot of options: upload, camera, video, location, screen, Padlet, drawing, links, image search, or something like that. So you can simply upload your submissions, or you can give a link to your document in the Google Drive or wherever it is mentioned. So this is how you have to submit. Okay. So it's very simple. So why I'm giving this activity? So that you can design effective pedagogy. You can at least think of something, and once you design how you can utilize the Padlet. So that will help you in understanding the Padlet. So here I'll show you one example of few. So this is some examples were shared by some participants. Okay, this is how they submitted. Fine. Yeah, that's the whole idea of coming back to the Padlet. So I would like to stop here. If there are any questions, I can take up. And thank you very much for your patience. And I hope it was useful for you.
The participants can unmute themselves and ask questions.
So here I could see that some director, okay, sir, I'm using digital pen to teach automata language subject.
Thank you, sir. It was very informative and I learned a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor. Yeah.
The Padlet and all, even though I was in the teaching field for more than 10 years, I didn't know all these things earlier.
Sure, no problem. The whole idea was, see, Padlet is just one instance. I would say there are a lot of
Mentimeter, everything is new.
Yeah, no. I'm saying there are similar tools like Padlet. Yeah, it's up to
Okay, sir.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Is there any question from the participants? You can unmute.
You can unmute or you can post in chat also. No problem.
If not, let us proceed for our vote of thanks. Farzana madam.
Okay. So, thank you, Dr. Kapil Kadam sir, for such an informative and nice session on.
Madam, unmute kara.
I would like to thank Dr. Kapil Kadam sir on behalf of VPKBIT for such a nice and interactive session on use of ICT tools in effective teaching learning process. In this session, he discussed some very informative and interesting ICT tools like Mentimeter, Padlet, etc. Along with all these ICT tools, he also discussed POE strategy with us, which will be very useful to us in teaching learning process. So I will again like to thank Dr. Kapil Kadam sir for this. So so this session is over here, and participants, you have to fill a feedback form that is given to you in the chat box, and next session will start in some more minutes. So thank you everyone.
Thanks a lot. Within 5 minutes, next session of yoga will start. So stay connected.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just leaving this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.